Hello and welcome to another This Week in Linux distro review. So today I'm going to be talking about OpenSUSE 11.3 Milestone 7. The full release for 11.3 will be coming out in July, and I thought it was a little bit too late in the release cycle to talk about 11.2. That's been done months and months ago by a lot of people. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at OpenSUSE.
Okay, so here you see OpenSUSE 11.3 Milestone 7. Now, here are a few things about OpenSUSE that set it apart from other distributions. It was created by Novell. It uses a YaST2 control center to manage a lot of hardware and software functionality. It uses zip or zipper as the package manager, which is like using apt-get or aptitude or yum if you're on other distributions. And it's actually an RPM-based distro like Fedora, like Red Hat, like PC Linux OS, and a bunch of others. That said, in addition, it's able to use YMP one-click install files, which is pretty cool. Now, the good things that I've seen about this distribution so far, if you come into the slab menu, you've actually got the GNOME Control Center installed by default. If you're not familiar with the GNOME control system, it actually takes all of the available options you've got for GNOME and throws it into one big panel. Very handy, but at the same time it could be confusing to some users. I'm going to mark that as a good thing. In addition, you've of course got the YaST Control Center. You see we've got hardware control, we've got miscellaneous stuff, network devices, network services. You can actually do LDAP browsing, a Samba server, you can become a member of a Windows domain. You can set up your security and user management from here, manage all of your software from here. You can actually do an online update from here, which is good because I didn't notice an updater anywhere else. You can edit your system settings here too. Of course, one of the other great things about 11.3 Milestone 7 is that it's coming with a lot of great new software. As you see here, it is scheduled for release on July 15th, so it is still in the milestone, the beta phase, whatever you want to call it. There's actually one release candidate coming in a couple of weeks, and then the final a couple of weeks after that. Now, as far as having newer software, you see you've got Linux version 2.6.34, which is the brand new kernel. It's still in the RC phase. Hopefully it will be final before this releases. You've got a new version of KDE, you've got a new version of GNOME, XFCE, OpenOffice, Firefox, lots and lots of new stuff. Sort of like Ubuntu does, but hopefully they will actually make it to the final versions of these before the release date. You've got Nouveau as the default NVIDIA driver, Grub2 is included but not used by default, which should make it a little bit easier to dual boot with something like Ubuntu, which uses Grub2. LXDE is also available, that's a great thing. Now moving back to the idea of one-click installers, my laptop has an NVIDIA card in it, so if I wanted to, and if the 11.3 version were available, I could come down here to their wiki page and just click install on this, and you'll see here it opens with the YaST Meta Package Handler, and it would give you installation steps here if it worked. But you see it does not contain instructions for this version because it's not available yet. Now one other thing I really did enjoy about looking at OpenSUSE 11.3, if you go into the menu bar, which is not available by default, you have to add it like I just did, but if you look in the applications, everything has subcategories. Makes it a little bit easier to find what you're looking for, but it also adds a level of obscurity. Under System, they've got a bunch of different categories there. Makes it a little bit easier to find what you're looking for instead of having a large menu, but at the same time it makes it one level you have to go deeper. The other thing I did sort of like about OpenSUSE as well is that the default live CD comes with a lot of pre-installed applications. You see you've got the default set of GNOME games, a few graphics applications including GIMP, FSpot, Xsane for scanning, and Cheese. You've got several internet applications including an XChat IRC client by default, and an RSS feed reader. You've got several different movie and media players available by default. You've got a task manager, the full OpenOffice suite, and of course the ability to install a lot of new software as you need it. And of course the other thing that I really like about it, if you hadn't noticed, I'm widescreen right now running on a live CD because this comes with the VMware tools pre-installed. I wouldn't know if the VirtualBox editions are there because it doesn't work in VirtualBox for me. That leads us to the mediocre. The look and feel of this, it doesn't really stand out for me. If you go into the different desktop backgrounds, it comes with a small handful. I mean, it is a live CD, and like I said, it's preloaded with a bunch of software, so there's not a lot of room, but you've got these two custom wallpapers, and that's about it. And really, they're about the same, they're just different sizes. As far as themes, you've got the custom theme, you've got a lot of the default themes, and then there's two other custom themes here. Really nothing special. The one feature that really used to set OpenSUSE apart from other distros, their slab menu, it sort of pales in comparison to Linux Mint 9's menu. They really could have done a lot more with it, I think, at this point. Mint 9 added in the ability to edit items on the fly by right-clicking on them. You can't do that here. They added the ability to edit the transparency of the menu by right-clicking on it. You can't do anything like that. I don't know, it just feels like they could have done a lot more with it. I know on the KDE Live version, they actually included a pop-up window that shows you a bunch of information about the community, about forums, different support options you've got. Nothing like that in the GNOME version, so it's still a little bit lacking in my opinion. And that leads us to what I consider to be the bad things about it. Again, we have to touch on the slab menu. If you come in here and look at your applications, you've got a default set of your favorite applications. But if you want to see any more, you click this button. On Linux Mint 9, this little section would disappear and be replaced by a list of the applications. In OpenSUSE, what happens? It opens a separate window. Now, if you're not familiar with this could be kind of off-putting. I mean, by itself, the slab menu takes up a large portion of the screen on a smaller screen. But that said, having all of these applications thrown at you in a large window that takes up a large portion of the screen by default, yes, you can click on groups to get subsets of it, but really it doesn't close any of the other sections, it just highlights what you're clicking on. Not a problem for somebody who's halfway experienced, but if you were a new user, not terribly friendly. In addition, if you go to any of the other sections of the menu, like the documents, you've got your favorite documents, your recent documents. If you click on more documents, what does that do? It loads up Nautilus and your documents window. Same thing if you go into places, you've got your default GNOME places. If you click on more places, does it show you more places? No, it shows you your home folder. Again, that's a little bit confusing. Your more places would actually be right here on the left-hand side. Something I just don't find terribly useful, and having a window pop out for every little thing that you click in here can be kind of confusing. And of course, the last thing to complain about for me about the slab menu is this search box. Now, having used Mint before this, of course, I figure that if I type in here Banshee, B-A-N-S-H-E-E, Banshee should be selected in here. It should pull up a list of applications, of files, of anything related to the word Banshee. It does not. If I hit enter there, it'll open up a desktop search and tell me that the search service isn't running. I'm on a live CD, I don't expect it to be. But if I start it, it still didn't find anything. I must note here, however, that it's used for all of these different things for searching. Where it's a live CD, I don't have any of those things available. It doesn't make any sense to have it available for the entire menu if it's only going to be used to find things in the document type locations. Another complaint I did have about it is the install and remove software. Now, as you'll see here, it says it's downloading. I could let it sit here, and it would probably take 5 minutes, so I'm going to end up cutting past this. And finally, the software manager comes up. You'll see here it looks a lot like Synaptic in other distributions. Not terribly user-friendly. If you come in and click on one of the categories, you get a list of all the software in that category with a brief description and a little bit of information at the bottom. Really no reviews, no helpful information about it. Just doesn't seem terribly useful to the beginner user. That said, it is usable. It's just as good as using Synaptic. It pulls in all the dependencies that you need. But at the same time, their software repositories by default don't have all the software you might need. For example, if I type in record my desktop, nothing found. Now, I might have to add a repository to make that happen. I know the 11.3 version does not work yet. I tried to download and install it earlier, and it failed spectacularly. That actually brings up another point. A lot of the software that I've dealt with is just kind of buggy in it. You know, Flash, if you get Flash installed by adding some additional repositories, Flash crashes about half the time you try to use it. I was trying to watch some videos earlier, it crashed every single time I tried to do it after about a minute and a half. Nothing really going on, it just decided to crash. And actually I had several times when Flash would crash and take down the entire system. Now I can't entirely blame that on OpenSUSE because it is a beta version still, and it is coming from a third-party repository. And my final complaint about it, which really isn't that big of a complaint, is I couldn't get it running in VirtualBox. But in VMware it starts up every time and it starts up quickly. So at least it does work there, and like I said, if I've changed this resolution on this, it immediately works. It's got the VMware editions installed, no problem. I can go back very quickly, no problem there. So overall, what do I have to say about it? I would say this is not a distribution for beginners. If you're intermediate, I would still probably not recommend it. I mean, if you have some sort of affinity for Novell, or if there's something specific that's Novell related that you want to install that's not available on other distributions, give it a shot, but go for 11.2 or wait the month to get 11.3 when it becomes final. OpenSUSE 11.3 Milestone 7, not a recommendation from me. But that's all I got to say about it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Hey guys, just a reminder that Gentoo won for next week's review, so I will be reviewing that as best I can. Go back to thisweekinlinux.com and vote for your favorite distro, and come hang out at live.thisweekinlinux.com at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'll be doing another live show. Thanks for watching.